On this episode of Game Shack, I test drive Arcade1up's Outrun cabinet. Coming up next. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Game Shack. I'm your host, JDV. Thanks for stopping by. All right, so this is going to be my review of the sit-down cabinet from Arcade1up for Outrun. Now there is a stand-up cabinet available right now, I think for $600 at QVC. I don't have a whole lot of interest in that, but from what I understand, it plays exactly the way that this game does, but you're standing up instead of sitting down. And before I go any further into the video, I will be having a separate video that hopefully will be out in a few days, where you can do a bunch of different cheap upgrades to this cab for under $100 total. That's including getting Rad Rally, hooking up LEDs, hooking up different buttons, putting in a little plexiglass top where you would want to set your beer, all kinds of cool little upgrades that you can do, all for $100. So check that video out, coming out soon. Now, right off the bat, I did not have a huge interest in this game when it first came out a few months ago, and that was until I saw Bill from Original Console Gamers review and Unqualified Critics had a review of it, both glowing reviews of this cab, and it made me rethink whether or not I should get it. Also, it occurred to me that it was the only cab in this market segment that is a driving game. Now, I'm not a giant driving game fan, but I mean, a lot of people are, and I certainly do enjoy the driving games. I'm just not a fanatic about it. I bought this game for $500 from my local Walmart, and hopefully this review will help you figure out whether or not you want to pick one up or not. All right, when you turn on the game, the first thing that you'll notice on the splash screen is that Code Mystics are the one that actually did this emulation. And for anybody who's been in this kind of market for a while will know that Code Mystics are one of the most famous, best emulators going in the business. So right off the bat, the fact that Code Mystics did the programming from this game is a good sign. Now, this game, as mentioned, is different than every other game from Arcade1up, and indeed from any company, in that it is the only driving game available right now in this market segment. And what do you get for your $500? Well, you get a lit marquee that is very nice and evenly lit with the cool sort of Outrun 80s arcade style of graphics. You get, of course, the cabinet itself, which comes with a steering wheel, a gear shifter, and a pedal and brake kind of set that slips down at the bottom of the unit. And you get a little sit-down chair with a little faux leather seat. It also comes equipped with stereo sound and music that is actually very, very good, and the latest generation 17-inch screen from Arcade1up, and which is just fine, I found, in practical use of this machine. In terms of the quality of the parts that you get, the steering wheel is actually outstanding. Here you see it next to a $250 steering wheel from Thrustmaster by way of comparison. It's almost the exact same size. The Arcade1up wheels may be a little smaller, but I actually prefer the grip on the Arcade1 steering wheel. It actually feels a little bit better in the hands. It feels a little bit more solid and robust. Now, the Arcade1up steering wheel does not have haptic feedback. It will not fight you. It will not shake or whatever, like the way that a Thrustmaster will. It does return from left to center or from right to center, so that's a nice touch. Overall, the wheel is probably the most outstanding bit of physical hardware that is on this machine. It is really quite good. Also comes with this little plastic gear shifter that has a little red button that you use on the turbo Outrun game to give yourself turbo power, and basically you can shift up and down to go into higher or lower gears. It's not made out of the highest grade materials. It's definitely not metal. It's sort of that kind of hard plastic that you'd expect to see in this, but it works just fine. I don't see it breaking unless you were very, very rough with it. The pedals for the brakes and the accelerator, here you can see them next to, again, the Thrustmaster setup. And it's here where you'll see where price kind of comes into consideration here. The pedal itself is quite thin for both the brake and accelerator, and the sort of backing material that connects it to the whatever the gears inside the machine itself are quite thin. You can see the difference between the Thrustmaster and the Arcade1up there. So you are definitely going to have to take it a little easy on the brake and accelerator pedals because they're just not that robust. Hopefully there'll be at the very least replacement parts for all of these up at Arcade1up at some point, and hopefully there'll be a third party putting out various replacement parts for this game. But I think if you just use this game normally and are not overly rough, I don't think these parts are going to fail, at least not anytime soon. In terms of the brake and pedals sort of sensitivity, they're actually quite good, even though they are made from thinner plastic than something like the Thrustmaster. They are as equally responsive as that more expensive unit. I found it, I mean, when you press down, it'll react just exactly how you expect the accelerator to work. And when you brake, not that I ever really do brake, but the brake pedal works just the way how you'd expect it to work in something like this arcade game. In terms of size, you can actually push the seat in quite a bit, and you can actually tip it up, slide it in. So it really doesn't take up that much more space than a normal arcade game. And that kind of surprised me. I was very worried about space when I put this thing in because space is at a premium in my little arcade. But it's turned out to be not a problem at all. And in fact, when my kids are in here watching movies or something, they just flip the seat out sideways and just sit in it like that and kind of set up their beanbag chair on it. And it makes a nice little cozy. The fit and finish on this game is, like all Arcade1up games, very, very good. Video really does not do the justice to this game in terms of the wow factor that it has when you put it in your home arcade. The 80s theme, the lit marquee, the steering wheel, the brilliantly lit screen, the cool bezel that it has, the seat matches, it makes a bigger impact than you think maybe it would when you see videos of it on YouTube. It really is a pretty impressive machine, and everybody's reaction has been exactly the same when they walk into my arcade, and it's like, oh wow, you got a driving game. You know, there's never any doubt in anybody's mind that hey, this is a really cool looking thing. Now, when you look at the menu of the game, you'll see that there's a little gear at the bottom of each game. And what that is if you pull down on the shifter, it will take you into a secret menu that allows you to adjust all manner of things, including the difficult level of the game, and you can add or take away scan lines. So this is that kind of Code Mystics impact on this game, where now we're starting to have a little bit of flexibility in terms of our own personal control over these games, kind of fine-tuning it to what we really want. The only thing that's really missing, and maybe something that they could give us in a future upgrade, is a pause. Sometimes I really would like to be able to pause these games. Because of the racing nature, they keep going and going and going until you win. Well, that can make for a long game, so I really wish there was a pause button. But that's about the only thing that is missing from the menu. You know, speaking of wishing that there was a pause button, are there any things that should be or could be improved on this game? And I would say right off the bat, probably not that many. I mean, it's actually, it plays so well out of the box. It is so fun, has such a cool impact, and frankly is so easy to upgrade. Again, check out my upgrade video coming out soon. The one thing that stands out most to me, and the thing that really that you do have to address, is the fact that the game is too short. Now, I don't mind sitting down in the game, and I don't mind it being shorter than my other games. It's a racing game. It's supposed to be kind of, you know, give you that feel. But the game itself, the main cabinet, is about 3 to 4 inches too short. And in my modification video, I make a little riser for this game. It's dead simple to make. It isn't that tough. You paint it black, and I mean, frankly, I think it looks quite good. But it's something that maybe Arcade1up can address. I mean, it comes in a quite of a large box as it is, so maybe it's just not practical, particularly for when they're selling it at a Walmart. But it's going to be something that you're going to want to look at. Okay, to wrap up this review, does this game give good value for money and should you buy it? There's simply nothing else on the market that can compete with it. But the best thing about this cabinet is that it turns your home arcade into a real arcade. This would be my fourth game to buy when you are setting up your home arcade. It really is a super fun game. It looks super slick, and if you want to get into modding, it's super easy to do that too. So what's my final grade for Arcade1up's Outrun? Well, I'm going to give this thing an A-. And really the only thing that out of the box I would really expect it to be better is just I would want it to be 3 or 4 inches taller in the cab, just so you don't have to get a riser. But on the other hand, I can understand at this price point and given the packaging why maybe they didn't do that. It is absolutely a very solid buy. All right, that wraps up this review and episode. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up on the way out. It really does help us make more content. Love each other, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the Game Shack. Mwah! Be sure to visit EvilGeniusEntertainment.com for exclusive content, swag, casting call news, and much, much more.